Master Your Hormones Part 2, working on the 180 coaching group. So just understanding some basics about basic big player hormones in your body that help make or break your success. Obviously we've talked about the fundamentals to go a long way, but these are hormones you need to be aware of because they typically go down with age. These two tonight and the two we talked about last week tend to increase. So these two, last week we talked about decreasing our cortisol and insulin. This week we're going to talk about increasing two hormones, human growth hormone, aka HGH, and testosterone. These are two big ones that we see can really affect the body in terms of body composition and overall health. So I'm going to talk about these two tonight. This will be short and sweet like the other ones, and if you jump off early, it will be recorded. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the first one, human growth hormone, which is a pretty big one. It's important because it has a lot to do with kind of like the fountain of youth in our body, and all these things you see that it helps with. It tend to decline with age. We tend to heal less from injuries. We tend to hold more body fat and lose muscle mass and strength. And our memories and things and our overall brains don't tend to function as well as we get older. And we don't tend to sleep as good as we did when we were younger. And the great thing about raising your human growth hormone levels is you can do this naturally. And a lot of the movie stars will pay thousands of dollars a month to do this. I actually looked it up, and it was anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a month to go on human growth hormone therapy if you went down to Florida and you went to one of these quote-unquote wellness clinics. So raising these naturally in your body will save you a lot of money, but also help you be more successful. And I'm going to talk about how we typically do this, but just to here's a quick chart. It just talks about how much our body secretes. Obviously, being growth hormone, the highest numbers are in when we're going through puberty and as adolescence, and as we get older, we tend to secrete less and less and less. It kind of bottoms out in our 60s. But this is kind of your average. Remember, this is the average person, and you don't have to be average. And so there are certain ways you can come in and naturally boost your own human growth hormone levels. And I'm going to talk about each of these coming up here in the next slide. So to improve our HGH release, one of the best ways to do it, and being a personal trainer, of course, exercise is going to be involved. So higher intense exercise, meaning when we hear high intensity, it doesn't even necessarily lifting a lot of weight, but it means getting your heart rate up and getting to that point when you get that lactic acid burn, you feel like you're huffing and puffing a little bit. And that's the point behind circuits and finishers and conditioning drills, because that will actually stimulate lactic acid in your body. That's that burning, and that stimulates human growth hormone release. And that's one of the best natural ways to do it. Now, you don't want to do this every day. Remember, I talked about last week is, people can think, well, I'll just do this every single day. But then there's kind of a relationship between cortisol and human growth hormone, which one dominates. And if you start to over-exercise, human growth hormone will become second player and cortisol will dominate. But if we're doing intense exercise and we're recovering from it, and we're keeping the session short, like I talked about last week, we will get some good growth hormone releases. And one little caveat to that when it comes to eating, after we work out, if our number one priority is fat loss, we want to wait 30 to 60 minutes before we have a meal, because that growth hormone being elevated in our body will actually help us burn fat. And as soon as we eat, we release a hormone called insulin, and insulin will actually shut down human growth hormone. So if I want to build muscle, if that's my number one priority, I will eat as soon as possible after a workout. But if I want to burn fat, I'm going to wait 30 to 60 minutes before I eat anything after my workout to let that human growth hormone work a little bit longer and enhance that fat burning after higher intense workout. So sometimes you might have to eat right afterwards just because your work schedule or whatever, but ideally, if you can stick within 30 to 60 minutes, even closer to the 60-minute mark, that's going to be better for you after the intense exercise. That's just one little sidebar there. Number two, quality of sleep. So I talked about this last week. You see how these are interrelated with cortisol. So when I do not get into my deeper stages of sleep, my REM sleep, my body will not release as much human growth hormone. And I would say the average American sleeps about 5 to 6 hours a night. And really, we need to be about 7 to 9. So quality sleep, and that means not waking up all the time. That means, not having a few cocktails before bed, because that'll make the sleep kind of restless and not real good. So I know there was one of our clients was talking to about, they have a couple glasses of wine every night and they can't sleep well and they're tired. That's their biggest thing, their energy levels. And you can throw all the spark you want into somebody who's tired, but if they're not sleeping good, it's kind of pointless. You got to get that quality sleep. Remember, it's like recharging the battery. So one, it's recharging the nervous system, but it's also raising up human growth hormone in your body. So if you're constantly cutting it short on the sleep, you're really kind of you're stifling your body's ability to release human growth hormone. Number 3 is fasting. One of the biggest trends right now is intermittent fasting. I've had a lot of people ask me about this, and you see it all over the place. And that's why I put in some conditions. Now, there was a great article on one of my favorite sites, T Nation, which is written by one of the top coaches, Kristen Thibodeau, who I really respect. And did a great article talking about intermittent fasting, why it could be hurting you. And I see a lot of women going to this because you're basically not eating for 16 hours and then you're eating for 8 hours. Now, this will work in some conditions. One, the condition works good is if you don't overindulge during your feeding period, which a lot of people do. They think because they're fasting for 6 hours, they give themselves a license to overeat in that 8-hour window. The other thing is, if you are, like last week, if you're a very stressed out person, like most people I know in the U.S., you are going to have higher levels of cortisol. So when you go into fasting, you are going to put your body's already unstable and low blood sugar into a more panic state, which is going to put you in more of a fight or flight, which is going to probably raise cortisol versus human growth hormone. However, on the flip side, if you're a person that manages your stress well and has a pretty calm demeanor, fasting could be a good way for you to stimulate human growth hormone release. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have to look at honestly where your lifestyle's at. If you're under stress and using fasting as a knee-jerk thing to try to lose weight and you're already stressed, you're just going to be throwing gasoline on the fire. This is kind of an interesting one. Number 4, laughter. How often do we laugh anymore? We've gotten to such a high-stress, uptight society, and I know I can confess myself that I get into this. We were just so serious and focused all the time, and we're stressed, and we're not having fun and laughing. But laughter is another thing that's been shown to increase human growth hormone levels. So making a point not to take things so serious, and doing things that are going to make you laugh, that's, having a sense of humor is a big part, and it's just been shown time again to be good for your health. But now we're looking at it's good for your body composition too. And then 2 amino acids here, L-glutamine and L-arginine. We talked about other amino acids in the past, branch chain. These 2, glutamine is one that your body needs. It's actually kind of a healing amino acid. Your body has a certain amount of it, but a lot of times if you're in intense conditions like being sick or hard training, it's really a good idea to supplement more of it. It can actually repair your gut wall, helps repair your muscle tissue, but it does also help stimulate HGH release. And a good quality protein supplement most times will have an L-glutamine in there, and you can buy it as a standalone. Sometimes from, like, I would get it from my health provider, like a chiropractor or functional medicine doctor is going to be a quality brand versus just grabbing something off the shelf at Walmart. But L-glutamine can be one of those things too, especially if you feel like you have a lot of gut issues and you're sick a lot. L-glutamine is not a bad thing to maybe add a little bit of extra in. Sometimes your body just only has so much, you can have to shuttle it around, so you're just giving your body a little bit more to work with. And then L-arginine, which a lot of people know is probably is known best for increasing your blood flow, your vasodilation, or your blood cells opening the delivery of blood around the body, and that does help stimulate some better HGH levels in your body just from the pure fact that it helps circulate things around the body. So that's one of the main reasons that does improve that, just better delivery around the whole body. Is whenever you can transport things from point A to point B more effectively, you're going to get better levels, better delivery of that. So that's number 1, is human growth hormone. And we're going to go into number 2, which is testosterone. Now, this is geared more for the guys. Sorry, I just threw this together tonight. I didn't do my spell check, obviously, so it's spelled wrong. But testosterone, which we hear a lot about in guys. Women do have it, but it's more of a problem with guys. We have low testosterone, and I can just speak to this personally, that I've dealt with this since my late 30s. And, one of the big things you notice right out of the gate is a decreased motivational drive, and kind of symptoms like depression. And I know back in my late 30s when I first figured out something was off, I went into a big funk with it. I was really tired. I had no energy to do anything, and that's not how I was wired. And I knew something was wrong because I couldn't put in. There wasn't anything really wrong in my life at the time. There was nothing that I really needed to be depressed about. It was just like almost like a chemical imbalance, like a lot of people deal with. Luckily, I had a friend that turned me on to testosterone therapy, but we know a lot more about it now. And I think at the time, the answer was just supplement in testosterone, which, can help a little bit, but we want to, it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on or putting a piece of tape over the check engine light. We want to make sure that we're doing things to actually get our body to produce natural testosterone on our own. And then if that doesn't work, you will actually go to, the replacement therapy. But why is testosterone important? Very similar to growth hormone. That's why I kind of paired these two together. And here's a little thing too: is human growth hormone levels being boosted helps boost your testosterone production. So guys, the human growth hormone is kind of like testosterone for women. But guys, we need to do those things in the previous slide to boost our own testosterone in our body. But it's really important because it does increase lean muscle mass, fat loss, and then, like I said, when your testosterone's up, you're more motivated driving. You think about guys, kind of the alpha personality, are driven to provide for their families, driven to achieve and accomplish things, and that's kind of how God made us. And when we're not doing those things, it's kind of a question: is it the personality? Is there something off? Definitely has a big tie-in with libido. And depression, like I said, that was one of the big things I experienced. It does have a tie into bone health and cardiovascular health as well. So not just, you hear testosterone, a lot of times we just think about bodybuilders and getting, jacked up, but it's a pretty important hormone in terms of overall function. And, the easy thing here would be to say, well, if you go get it tested and it's, not in the normal range, just get on testosterone therapy. Well, I did that. And that still doesn't take care of the whole problem. So I'm going to talk about not just taking the easy way out, but actually the things that actually will help you boost your own natural levels. So if it's ladies, listen to this, make sure you share this with your husbands. But number one is strength training. Strength training, and it's not doing, machines and bicep curls. We're talking about the big lifts, the deadlifts, the squats, the big presses. Especially the big lifts with the whole, like that use more weight, like squats and deadlifts, are really going to do a good job of boosting natural testosterone levels. Once again, high intensity exercise is in there too, just like human growth hormone is going to help boost testosterone levels. So, doing some intervals, doing some kettlebell swings or some kind of circuit will help do that. Number 3 is a big one too, and removing environmental toxins. So there's some big culprits out there. You want to be careful about, I would not use any of the commercial deodorants. They have a lot of things in there, like parabens and propanol glycinol, there I said it right, that will actually disrupt the hormonal system and can actually lower your body's own testosterone levels. So I would use a natural deodorant. The caveat there is you got to kind of move around, because some of them I've known can cause reactions in people. Some of them don't work too good. So kind of experiment around with a natural deodorant. Number 2 is just make sure you're not ever heating up plastic or drinking from non-BPA plastic containers. Plastics have this BPA in them, and it's this chemical that leaches from the plastic, and then it can leach into if you're leaching into your water or whatever you're drinking. A lot of times that's going to mimic estrogen in the body. When we have higher levels of estrogen in the body, our body doesn't know the difference between the mimicked estrogen and the real estrogen. So when estrogen levels increase, testosterone levels decrease. So those are 2 of the big ones, is BPAs and chemicals from plastics, and then looking at a lot of the chemicals and things in your deodorants. So those are 2 big things I would really look at in the environment that you really want to look out for. And then in food products, I would definitely look up, get away from a lot of the soy products. A lot of the processed soy is not going to be a good quality protein. It has phytoestrogens in there, which can mimic estrogen. And when you raise estrogen levels, and I'm kind of speaking to the men here, when you mimic estrogen levels, that will once again in turn release more estrogen, which is going to diminish your testosterone levels. Here it is again, sleep. We saw that last week. Sleep is awesome for a lot of hormonal balance. So if you're not making sleep a priority, you really should. But once again, just like human growth hormone, when we sleep and we have quality sleep, we are going to release more testosterone. Good fats. So, and I'm talking about more the animal-based fats, the good saturated fats, like from like a lean grass-fed beef, egg yolks, those type of fats. And typically they're going to be high in vitamin D as well. You know, and even foods high in vitamin D, like legumes or beans, are going to be good for helping your body stimulate its own natural testosterone production. So good fats are going to be good for that, as well as omega-3 fatty acids. I didn't put that there. And the other thing, I shouldn't have put it here, but I forgot to put it, is stress. So once again, we talked about cortisol last week. When cortisol gets too high, testosterone levels get too low. So if you're not managing your stress as a man or a woman, not good when it comes to boosting your testosterone levels. But I'm speaking more to the guys, since testosterone is more of a big deal for us guys, is that we need to manage our stress and calm our bodies down. I know I had a client today who likes to lift weights. He's an older client. He's done really well, but found out he wasn't doing his post-workout cool down. And one of the reasons we do a post-workout cool down is to get the body out of fight or flight into rest and digest system, which is going to help reduce our stressed out environment. So making sure, just like I said last week, you see the crossover here, that we are doing some things to calm ourselves down and get ourselves relaxed, whether it be listening to certain types of music, taking a nice walk, meditating, yoga, you know, whatever it is, you figure out what it is. And you need to do that to keep those testosterone levels healthy. I would suggest as a male is to get your blood work done a few times a year. I know I just got mine done this past week, and really kind of see where those things are at. You know, there's kind of a range of 250 to 850. Some doctors will say you're okay at the lower range. You know, I believe as a guy, if you're closer to the higher range, you're going to feel a big difference than if you're at like 250. You know, and so you want to be around, I would suggest right around 850, just from when I talk to guys, other guys that are on testosterone therapy, that's where they tend to feel the best. And, you know, once again, you just want to get with a good doctor that's going to be able to monitor that for you. And then I would just say a couple things, talking to the doctors, you know, if you do have to go on testosterone therapy, you know, doing a shot versus a patch, and this is coming straight from doctors, the deal with the shot is you're going to get a spike and it's going to slowly decline throughout the week, versus if you do a patch like I do, where you apply a little bit of gel every day, it keeps it up there more consistently. It's kind of like a nice steady flow of testosterone. So that would be my suggestion. The only thing you got to look out for there with that is you just don't want to touch anybody with it when you put it on your arms. But these are two important hormones that we really need to think about. You know, once again, some of the common things there, you know, good healthy diet, getting processed stuff and out of our diet, you know, sleep and stress being managed. You know, basically the bottom line, if you could take the past 2 weeks, if you were to manage your sleep and stress, you would take care of a lot of these issues, and these hormones start to come back into balance, and your body starts to work the way God intended it to. So with that, that is basically what I'm talking about tonight. Like I said, I keep these short and sweet. And these are here just to kind of, this will be recorded if you want to watch it again, or if you're listening to this and you want your husband, if you're a woman, you want your husband to listen to this, you can definitely put them on there. But I'm going to sign off for now and look for more webinars coming up soon.